if you stack the instruction, if we stack it like that,
Okay.
then the time it takes to complete an instruction reduces. Because earlier we had to wait for the whole instruction to complete.
Okay.
Now we have broken it into steps so that if when the first step of first instruction is done, then the first step of second instruction can start.
Yes.
Like that. And so there are other techniques like cache, using cache to improve the speed and efficiency, and from unicore processor we went to multi-core processors.
Okay.
So that was about early computing and hardware. Next time I will discuss about early programming. For today, this is all I have.
So now for this kind of newer processors, manufacturing is also a challenge, you could say, because to keep lots of what was that, gates in in very small space, that is also a challenge. So
yeah, so means from what I can see, like this, for now we have like over trillion, I think over trillions of individual process, not only process, individual circuits inside
I see.
inside a chip. Yeah, integrated circuits inside one chip itself.
Okay.
And they will have multiple gates.
Gates.
So yeah, like the fabrication process surely has advanced a lot.
Yes.
I'm not sure what are the current challenges they are facing, because seeing the current rate over the last few years, every year almost the processor, like the power, processor power, what is it called? The efficiency and the power of processors,
yes,
have almost double almost every year.
Yes.
But we'll probably reach a peak pretty soon, because unless now, from what I can tell, they are reducing the actual size of the chip rather than putting more.
Okay. What does it mean?
I do not really understand it, but for example, you may have heard, or maybe not, earlier chips used to be 14, earlier, by earlier I mean like 5-6 years ago.
Yes.
The most efficient chip was 14 nanometer.
Okay.
14 nanometer, they call it 14 nanometer fabrication. I don't know what that means.
Okay.
Now, I think Apple or someone like that, they have brought it down to 6 nanometer fabrication.
Like
So by what it means, in 6.
Okay. Go on.
In like a 14 nanometer space.
Yes.
Like the amount of transistors and whatever stuff they used to put in 14 nanometer space, they can now put that same amount in 6 nanometer.
Okay.
So like it's a different way of achieving efficiency.
Okay.
Instead of taking more space to put the same amount, they're taking less space to put the space in the same amount.
Okay, so that means that in 14 nanometer, more processing power can be manufactured.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also don't understand it, because like hardware architecture itself is very complicated to understand in the basic form. So in advanced architecture, whatever they do is very complicated to understand.
Because I have seen videos of, means those are very rudimentary computers, like breadboard computers. They're called. They just put in some logic gates and then basic calculations they do. So even from there, we can say that one can understand the essence of what a computer is, calculate. So which is, I think that those breadboard computers probably has just 2 or 3 logic gates, or maybe whatever that was. So now imagine having trillions of those kind of things in such a small thing. So
now they are like, the way to achieve efficiency is not to just put more and more in a particular area. They are also like trying to mix and match regarding different uses, because for example, certain area will have very high efficiency processor, some will have high power processors, and they are mixing and matching to get the ultimate result.
Okay.
Because in one chip, not all the like the transistors of same power.
Okay.
Even in our like from what I can tell about phones, there are like two. They call it two in. I don't remember, but I think the what is the whatever the company name I forgot, but they call it A73 Cortex or A53 Cortex, something like that. A73 is high performance, and A53 is high efficiency, which it takes less battery. So
Okay.
they mix and match the according to like the price range of the phone also.
Okay.
So there are many complicated things going on.
Okay. One more question I want to ask regarding those registers and cache memory. Cache memory.
Yeah.
So suppose if I open a few tabs on a browser and I close it, I switch off the computer, and then
Yeah.
the next day I again switch it on, open the browser, but those two tabs remain. So where does this the information remain? In the register, cache memory, RAM, or where does it remain?
If probably it's still in the RAM.
RAM.
Yeah. RAM. If it is in the RAM, that means it is also in the cache, and it is also in the processor. So to understand, we'll try and explain. If I can explain, I'll try to explain. Whenever we try to open a process, we have to think of it in the form of process, not like an application or anything.
Okay.
When we try to open a process, the processor will first check the cache memory. It will first check the register, but it doesn't take long to check the register. It immediately knows if it's there in the register or not.
Okay.
Then it will check the cache.
Okay.
And that also doesn't take a long time. If it is in the cache, then you will see, for example, when the browser is already open, you minimize it, and when you maximize it, it immediately opens.
Yes.
Because the thing that we're trying to look at is already in the cache.
Okay.
If it is in the cache, that means it is also in the RAM.
Okay.
Or I shouldn't say it's already in the RAM. The speed at which it will be brought to the RAM will be much faster because it is already in the cache.
Okay.
But for something that is not in the RAM, not in the cache, and not in the RAM also, then first it will contact the hard drive or wherever the application is stored.
Okay.
And because applications are stored in the hard drive only, they cannot be stored in RAM and anywhere else because they are volatile memory.
Okay.
And hard drives, even our laptop hard drives are HDD, they are run at maximum 1500 RPM or something like that. So compared to cache and RAM, they are much slower.
Okay.
And if our processor is slow, then it will take even slower to fetch that much.
Okay.
But once it is in the RAM, then that RAM will communicate with the cache.
Okay.
And the cache will communicate with the processor because RAM it is not allowed to communicate directly with the processor.
Okay.
Because of this speed mismatch.
Okay.
So if we close the computer and it opens and it already is there, that means it was not cleared from the RAM at all. It was already in the RAM.
Okay.
I think that is part of the making laptop smarter, because as we say, like when you turn off the RAM, it clears, like everything is removed.
Okay.
But in reality, not everything is removed. Actually, it means by that I mean the power, certain processors are still stored in the RAM. That is why when you turn off the phone and everything, and we open it, it's still there.
Yes.
It is basically to improve efficiency and all.
Okay.
From what I can understand, I'm not sure.
So maybe someday you can also cover the different types of technologies used to store memory. You mentioned about HDD. There's some SSD or something. So,
memory. Yeah, can do that.
Someday, like you have already planned on the programming language. So after that, you may you can see. So I think that topic is done.
Yeah, it's complete.
Okay, so I'll talk about this graph that I've mentioned that I found. I'll do some screen sharing now. Can you see this graph?
Yeah.
Okay, so this graph shows that since Elon Musk or Twitter accepted Elon Musk's offer, what kind of means what kind of people lost followers and what kind of people gain followers. So from this graph, you can see that people who are Democrats, or I would say the left-wing people in US, they mostly lost their followers, and the Republicans or the right-wing people, they started gaining more, started gaining followers. So the on the left, the x-axis is the dates of April 2022, and the right and the y-axis is the increase in the percentage of followers. So this graph, from this graph, I can see that mostly the right-wing people have gained more followers, and over the past,
Aren't right wings are conservative, right, and left
yes,
wings are liberal.
yes, yes, and yes, right-wing the Donald Trump, he's still a Republican, a right-wing person. So he was previously banned from Twitter. He's still banned, I think so. I don't know what is going to happen in the future, but and also means over since this news has this thing came into news, I've seen some articles. I've never read them. I've only seen the headlines of people criticizing Elon Musk and all these things about him trying to buy things and taking free speech and all of those things. But I have seen that all the people who are criticizing him are this, I would say, the leftist peoples, because they are the one who mostly want to censor people, or censorship, banning, this canceling people. They are the
Doesn't
one.
free speech come under the is in the major part of being a liberal?
Yes, that is the irony. This is the irony these days, because if you see the history of left and right wing, it started in France. I think so during the French Revolution or something. So the right wing people were mostly the upper class, the people who were in power, and the people who are called the left wing, because actually there was a meeting held in a court or something in a place like that. The people who were the upper class people, the ruling people, the rich people, who they sat on the right side of that meeting, and the people who were the farmers and peasants, they sat on the left side. So that is how they are called the leftist and rightist. And yes, the left people, they wanted more freedom, equality, and those kind of things they wanted. So historically, yes, the left people who are in the left should be more open to all of those kind of things. But at least in the US, this is what is happening, that they are the one who are means banning on all of those things, banning, not allowing people to express themselves. Like for it means, if they find something offensive or something that does not match with their ideology or their point of view, they try to ban. And since since this happened, I think so one of the reasons why Elon Musk was decided to buy this thing is probably because of this. There's too much censoring is happening. And even he talked that this means that not everyone is getting equal opportunity to talk about themselves, talk about their viewpoints. So like this graph in a way shows that like they are actually the writing people are now more confident that they will be able to speak more freely without the fear of being banned or something.
Related to this, I found a post. I'll share my screen of Facebook.
Okay, I have to stop now.
You host disabled participants featuring.
What?
Do you have a like setting somewhere where you can enable it? It says you host disabled participants featuring.
No. I don't see anything. Wait.
Or what, you can share it. I'll tell you where what you can go to YouTube.
Okay. Wait a minute. Yes.
Search Ben Shapiro. You click on his channel. Go to community. Keep scrolling. You'll say Elon Musk politics. Go down. Keep going.
Because the left is that the entire goal has been to shift the over window and all. Yes. Even Ben Shapiro, he's also a conservative. So yes, even yes, and there and as I've said that there have been a lot of articles, people writing about criticizing him, and I found only one person so far who has written that he said that I don't understand the criticism of Elon Musk, and he's the first person I've seen who has not who did not criticize, who didn't write something criticizing him. And I think that is true because apart from this thing, and okay, the meeting will end in 10 minutes, so we only have 10 more minutes left.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, so yes, as I was saying, apart from Twitter, that too also started towards the end of April or the beginning of April. Before that, he has done so many things. I say that he's probably the most important person in this planet at this moment. All those electric vehicles and the SpaceX, as compared to other people's like Facebook and all of those things, they are only trying to create algorithms, maximize their profits, and just show ads, those kind of things. He's the one who is actually thinking about the future of the human race and the planet. And just for one thing, now people are writing all of those, mainly the people in left are writing all of these kind of things. So there is completely, I don't understand.
Who was the one who didn't say anything about it?
Wait, I actually have, he was a mainly, there's a company called CB Insights. There I signed up to the newsletter. The person who writes the newsletter He wrote that one. Yeah, I'll show another graph that is unrelated to this, but that's the end of that story about Twitter. Now this is something different. Like about the person who wrote about that, who didn't criticize Elon Musk. He writes this newsletter, CB Insights. Actually, this is a very big company. But he just write this one. I'm talking about this. Can you see this graph?
No.
Okay.
Are you sharing the screen?
Can you see now?
Yeah.
Yeah. It is just a graph. There's nothing news about it. Just informative in nature. So on the x-axis, it's the year 1903 to up to 2022, and on the y-axis is the percentage of households in United States. Houses mean the one full house. I think so. So there are different kind of technology adoption, technology and their percentage of adoption throughout the past over 100 years. As you can see, electric power, they achieved like every household in the US had electricity by about somewhere between 1950 and 1960. So for India, I think it still hasn't achieved 100%. And because the main highlights of this thing was about the adoption of smartwatch. As you can see, it started somewhere, I would say, after 2010 smartwatches, but it is quickly growing in adoption. You can see. But one
What is
interesting.
that gray one that declined?
Yes, there's a telephone landline, the landline telephone.
Oh yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
you can see that it peaked at around early 2000s. And you can see that mobile phone is also somewhere there. As around that same time when the landline started declining, the mobile phone, it started increasing. You can see, and it started declining. So yes,
there
that's
are more mobile phone than computers.
Yes, more mobile phones and computers. At some point, it was more, but quickly around somewhere in 2000s itself, it increased. So then even internet is about 80%. But if you look at automobile, it is now becoming more, I would say, stagnant at around somewhere between 80 to 19%. And I think that in the future, this is also going to decline like this telephone landline, because I've been reading a lot of from a lot of sources that in the future this people will no longer have personal cars. Like they will have, it will become more like a commodity. With
service people can use.
Yes. With autonomous driving over, I think in the next 50 years or so, I've read or I've read and watched a lot of from different sources. I found it. They're speculating that over time, in the next 50-60 years, people will no longer have their own cars. They will, because of self-driving technology, it will develop to a point that it will be fully autonomous, and from that point onwards, it will just be a service. People can just call a autonomous car that will take them to a location and so on. So even this automobile, this thing might go down over time. So I think that's it for today. Only 3 minutes are remaining now.
The topics are done.
Yes. So should we end it now?